I never thought I'd be the one staring at my phone screen at 11:30 at night, looking at photos of my family celebrating my dad's birthday at his favorite restaurant without me. The first picture hit me like a physical blow, my dad blowing out candles on a cake I didn't even know existed, surrounded by smiling faces that didn't include mine. But what truly shattered me was the third photo, my ex-boyfriend Jason, with his arm casually draped around my sister Amanda's shoulders, both of them laughing. The caption read, "Surprise guest made the night even more special." I sat alone in my darkened apartment, feeling invisible to the people who were supposed to love me most. What happened next changed our family forever. And it all started with a single email I decided to forward. Growing up in Cedar Springs, our family of 4 had always appeared close-knit to outsiders. My father, Thomas, now 58, built his construction business from nothing, working long hours, but always making time for family dinners. My mother, Diane, 55, managed the administrative side of the business while maintaining her role as the perfect homemaker. My sister, Amanda, 26, was the artistic one, always praised for her creativity and spontaneity. Then there was me, Monica, 32, the responsible daughter who moved back home after college to help with the family business accounting. Dad and I shared a special bond that had developed over years of early morning fishing trips and classic rock albums played too loud in his truck. He taught me to bait my own hook when I was 7, and I was the one who surprised him with rare vinyl records on holidays. When I helped computerize the family business accounting system, saving him thousands in tax deductions he'd been missing, he proudly told everyone his money girl was the smartest person he knew. My mother, on the other hand, had always shown a subtle preference for Amanda. When we were growing up, Amanda's artwork always claimed the center of the refrigerator, while my straight-A report cards were tucked under magnets at the bottom. When I pointed this out once as a teenager, Mom responded, "Amanda needs more encouragement. Things come so easily to you." I accepted this explanation, burying the hurt and doubling down on being the perfect daughter. My relationship with Jason had seemed promising at first. We met at a local business networking event 3 years ago, and his ambitious plans for starting his own consulting firm impressed me. He was charming, attentive, and my family welcomed him immediately. Mom even started setting an extra place for him at Sunday dinners without being asked. For almost 3 years, I believed we were building something real together. Everything changed 6 months ago when I discovered Jason had lied about nearly everything. His consulting business existed only on business cards. The impressive client meetings he mentioned were fiction. The money he claimed to be saving for our future had been spent on weekend trips with business associates I'd never met. When confronted, he dismissed my concerns as being too uptight about a few white lies. I ended things that night. The breakup was harder than I expected. Jason kept calling, alternating between anger and pleading. I maintained my distance, throwing myself into work and spending extra time at my parents' house. My family seemed supportive, with Dad awkwardly patting my shoulder and Mom making my favorite meals when I came over. Amanda stayed unusually quiet during this period, which I attributed to discomfort with emotional situations. As Dad's birthday approached in early May, I assumed we'd follow tradition, a home-cooked meal of his favorite pot roast, a German chocolate cake, and presents opened in the living room. I'd already ordered a vintage Rolling Stones record. I knew he'd been searching for, planning to wrap it in the comics section of the newspaper like he'd done for my gifts throughout childhood. Then came the text that changed everything. My phone buzzed with a family group chat notification. Amanda had clearly meant to send it only to Mom. Reservations confirmed at Harbor Grill for 8 people Friday at 7 for Dad's birthday. Don't mention to Monica. Jason confirmed he'll come too. Dad's going to be so surprised. I stared at my phone, reading the message over and over, certain I'd misunderstood. But there it was, clear evidence I was being deliberately excluded from my own father's birthday celebration. And somehow my ex-boyfriend was invited instead. The text felt like a mistake at first. I waited for a follow-up explanation that never came. When my phone remained silent for 30 minutes, I called my dad directly, something we did almost daily. "Hey, sweetheart," he answered, sounding distracted. "Can I call you back later? I'm in the middle of something. Just wanted to check about your birthday plans." I said, trying to keep my voice casual. A pause. Oh, nothing special. Your mother's probably making dinner at home. Sounds nice. What time should I come over? Another pause, longer this time. Actually, we're keeping it really low-key this year. Why don't we do something this weekend instead? Before I could respond, he quickly added, Sorry, honey, customers here. Gotta go, and hung up. My father, who normally spent 20 minutes chatting about everything from weather to local politics, had rushed me off the phone. The knot in my stomach tightened. I texted my mother next. Hey, Mom. What time is Dad's birthday dinner Friday? The reply came almost an hour later. We're just having a quiet night at home. Nothing special this year. He's tired from the big Peterson project. The lie stung worse than the exclusion. We'd always been honest with each other, or so I thought. I tried to focus on work that afternoon, but my mind kept returning to the group text and the conflicting stories. By 7 that Friday evening, anxiety had won. I drove past my parents' house, a small ranch-style home, where we'd lived since I was 10. The driveway sat empty. The porch light was off. No one was home despite my mother's quiet night-in story. Back in my apartment, I mindlessly scrolled through social media to distract myself. That's when Amanda's Instagram story appeared at the top of my feed. There they were, my entire family, seated around a large table at Harbor Grill, my dad's favorite seafood restaurant. The place he only went for special occasions because it was too expensive for regular visits. More photos followed my grandparents, who I hadn't seen in months. My Aunt Linda and Uncle Dave from Michigan, who must have driven 6 hours to be there. Cousins I rarely saw outside of Christmas gatherings. This wasn't some small impromptu dinner. This was a full family celebration. Then came the image that felt like a physical blow. Jason seated beside Amanda, his arm casually draped over the back of her chair, both of them laughing at something off camera. The caption read, Special surprise guest made Dad's birthday perfect. I sat frozen, phone in hand, as tears blurred my vision. Not only had my family excluded me from this significant gathering, but they had invited my ex-boyfriend in my place. The same man who had lied to me for years. The same man I'd cried over at my mother's kitchen table. The drive home was a blur of streetlights and tears. I canceled plans with friends the next day, unable to explain what had happened without breaking down. By Sunday morning, my shock had hardened into something colder. When my mother finally texted, it was a last-minute thing. Just close family. No need to make a big deal about it. Just close family. And apparently my ex-boyfriend now qualified as family while I did not. I might have let it go. Might have swallowed the hurt and pretended to believe the last-minute story if not for the email that arrived Sunday afternoon. It came from Judy Wilson, my dad's longtime assistant, who had clearly hit reply all by mistake on a chain she shouldn't have forwarded to me at all. Diane, I've confirmed the private room for Thomas's surprise birthday dinner on Friday, May 3rd. The reservation is set for 20 people at 7 p.m., as requested 3 weeks ago. I've ordered the cake from Palmer's Bakery and arranged for the wine selection you specified. Let me know if you need anything else to make the evening special. Attached was the entire email thread, dating back a month, detailing careful planning for what my mother had called a last-minute thing. As I scrolled through the messages, one from my sister stopped me cold. Mom, I don't think we should invite Monica. She's still sensitive about the Jason thing, and I want to bring him as my +1. It would just be awkward for everyone. Besides, she'll probably just talk about work the whole time like she always does. My mother's response, I agree, honey. We'll do something separate with her later. Your father will understand once we explain. I read those words over and over until they burned themselves into my memory. They had planned all along to exclude me. They had chosen Jason over me. And my father, the man I thought would always have my back, had apparently agreed to it all. The next morning, I called my mother, hands shaking so badly I could hardly hold the phone. When she answered with her usual cheerful, "Good morning, sweetheart," the contrast with what I'd discovered made me physically ill. I saw the emails about Dad's birthday dinner. I said, my voice surprisingly steady. A pause. What emails? The ones planning the surprise party 3 weeks ago. The ones where you and Amanda decided not to invite me because she wanted to bring Jason instead. Another pause, longer this time. When she spoke again, her voice had cooled significantly. You're making this into something bigger than it is, Monica. It was just dinner. A dinner with our entire extended family, Mom. A dinner you lied to me about. We didn't want to hurt your feelings about Jason. Amanda's been seeing him and they wanted to go public. We thought it would be easier this way. The casual way she dropped this bombshell made me grip the counter for support. Amanda is dating Jason. My ex-boyfriend, Jason. These things happen, honey. You broke up with him, remember? Amanda and Jason connected afterward. They didn't want to tell you until they were sure it was serious. When did they start seeing each other? I don't know exactly. A couple of months ago, I think. We had broken up 6 months ago. Something wasn't adding up. I need to talk to Dad, I said. He's very busy with the Peterson project today. Maybe give him some space. You know how you get when you're upset. How I get, I repeated. Intense, honey. You've always been so intense about everything. Just let this go. We'll have you over for dinner soon, I promise. After hanging up, I sat at my kitchen table trying to process what I'd just learned. Amanda and Jason were dating. My family had hidden this from me. And now my mother was suggesting my reaction was the problem. I opened Instagram again, this time, searching through Amanda's profile more carefully. There it was subtle evidence I'd missed before. Jason, appearing in group photos over the past few months. A picture of a meal at his favorite restaurant with the caption, "Great company makes everything taste better," from 2 months ago. A photo of a weekend trip to the lake where a man's arm was just visible at the edge of the frame wearing the distinctive watch I'd given Jason for Christmas. I called my best friend Taylor, who answered on the first ring. "Did you know Amanda was dating Jason?" I asked without preamble. Taylor's hesitation told me everything. I had heard rumors. I wasn't sure if it was true. "How long have you known?" "Monica, I didn't want to hurt you with gossip that might not be true." "How long, Taylor?" She sighed. "People started talking about seeing them together around Valentine's Day." "I'm so sorry." "Valentine's Day. 4 months ago. 2 months after our breakup. Not a couple of months ago. As my mother had claimed." "There's more," Taylor added reluctantly. "Some people are saying they were seeing each other before you and Jason broke up. But that could just be small-town talk." The room seemed to tilt. I thanked Taylor and hung up, then opened my laptop. As the family business accountant, I had access to all financial records. I rarely looked at personal expenses, respecting privacy boundaries. But now I searched through my father's recent transactions. There it was, a series of large checks made out to JM Consulting over the past 3 months. Jason Miller. My father had been giving my ex-boyfriend money. I dug deeper, finding a business proposal from Jason to my father, dated just 2 weeks after Jason and I broke up. He was pitching an investment opportunity in a new venture. My father, who had always been cautious with money, had apparently invested $25,000 so far. The pieces were falling into place in the worst possible way. Had Jason targeted Amanda to maintain his connection to my father's money? Had their relationship begun before or after our breakup? And how could my family keep all of this from me? I tried calling my father again, but he didn't answer. I left a voicemail asking him to call me back about an important business matter, thinking that might get his attention. He didn't return my call. That evening, I received a group text from my mother: "Sunday dinner at 6 tomorrow. Everyone please be on time." Sunday dinners were our one consistent family tradition, and I hadn't been uninvited from those yet. I responded with a simple, "I'll be there already," dreading the confrontation, but knowing it was necessary. Before I could close my email that night, a new message appeared from my mother to extended family members. I was copied, but the message clearly wasn't meant for me to see. "Thank you all for making Thomas's birthday so special. For those who asked about Monica's absence, we thought it best not to include her this time. She's always been so judgmental of Amanda, and this night needed to be about celebration, not tension. Monica has a way of making everything about herself, and Thomas deserved one night without her constant need for attention and approval. We appreciate your understanding and discretion on this matter. I read it twice, then a third time, unable to believe the words in front of me. This wasn't just about Jason and Amanda. This was about me. My mother had been harboring these thoughts about me for who knows how long. Judgmental. Making everything about myself. Needing constant attention. Was this how my family truly saw me? The daughter who had structured her entire adult life around helping the family business? Who had moved back to our small town, instead of taking that job offer in Chicago? Who had spent weekends helping my father with tax preparation and payroll management, without ever asking for additional compensation. For the first time, I wondered if I even knew my family at all. Sunday arrived with a sense of dread I'd never associated with family dinner before. I dressed carefully in a blue blouse. My father once said, brought out my eyes applying makeup to hide the evidence of a largely sleepless night. The 20-minute drive to my parents' house had never felt so long. My mother answered the door with her usual smile, though it didn't quite reach her eyes. Right on time as always, she said, as if nothing had changed. The kitchen smelled of pot roast and fresh rolls, the dining room table already set with the good china we used for special occasions. My father sat in his usual armchair, reading glasses perched on his nose as he reviewed what looked like work documents. He glanced up when I entered, offering a tight smile. "There's my money, girl," he said, using his old nickname for me, though his voice lacked its usual warmth. Amanda arrived 10 minutes late, bringing a bottle of wine I recognized as Jason's favorite. She wore a new dress I hadn't seen before, her hair styled more elaborately than usual for a family dinner. "Sorry I'm late," she announced, not sounding sorry at all. Traffic was crazy by the mall. We took our usual seats at the table, my mother bringing out serving dishes while my father carved the roast. For 20 minutes we maintained a facade of normality, discussing weather and local news while carefully avoiding any mention of the birthday dinner or Jason. When my mother served dessert, I finally broke the silence on the elephant in the room. "So, how was Dad's birthday dinner at Harbor Grill?" The photos looked nice. The clatter of forks against plates suddenly stopped. My mother and Amanda exchanged glances, while my father became intensely interested in his apple pie. "It was lovely," my mother finally said. "Just a small gathering. 20 people isn't exactly small, Mom." "Monica," my mother sighed, "we didn't want to make a big production out of it." "Is that why you lied about it being last minute when Judy's emails show you planned it 3 weeks in advance?" My father looked up sharply. "You read Judy's emails. She accidentally copied me on the planning thread. The one where Mom and Amanda decided not to invite me because Amanda wanted to bring Jason instead." Amanda put down her fork. "It wasn't like that." "Then what was it like? Please, explain why my ex-boyfriend was at my father's birthday dinner, but I wasn't." My mother's voice turned cold. "It was just easier without the drama you would have brought, Monica. You've always been so sensitive about finding out my sister is dating my ex." "Yes. I think being sensitive about that is perfectly reasonable." Amanda's chin lifted defiantly. "Jason and I have been together for 6 months now. It's serious. 6 months. I did the math quickly. We broke up 6 months ago." 6 months and 2 weeks, Amanda clarified, as if that made a difference. "So you started dating him immediately after we broke up?" Amanda glanced at my mother before answering. "Not immediately. There was some overlap." The room went silent. Even my mother looked shocked at this admission. "Overlap," I repeated. "You were seeing my boyfriend while we were still together." Amanda shrugged. "It just happened. We didn't plan it. And then when you broke up with him, it seemed stupid to ignore our connection just because he used to date you." I turned to my parents. "Did you know this?" My mother recovered quickly. "Amanda told us they started seeing each other after you broke up." "But honestly, Monica, you ended things with him. You don't get to dictate who he dates afterward, even if it's my sister. Even if they were apparently sneaking around behind my back while we were still together." You're being dramatic, Amanda said. It was just a few weeks of texting before you broke up. And now Dad is investing in his business ventures, I added, watching my father's face carefully. He had the grace to look uncomfortable. Jason has some promising ideas. I'm just helping him get started. Dad, did you approve of them not inviting me to your birthday? Did you know that was the plan? My father sighed, running a hand through his graying hair. Monica, sometimes it's just easier to keep the peace. Amanda said you wouldn't come if Jason was there. And he's practically family now. Practically family. He lied to me for years. I caught him in multiple affairs. He was using me. And now, apparently he's using Amanda. To get to your money. Amanda stood up so quickly her chair nearly toppled. You're just jealous because he chose me. He said you were always too focused on work. Too boring to be with long term. At least I know how to have fun. Amanda, my mother interjected, but without much force. I looked at my father. The one person I thought would always be in my corner. Dad, is this really what you wanted? To exclude me from your birthday? To make things easier for everyone else? He couldn't meet my eyes. I think you should be the bigger person here, Monica. Amanda and Jason are happy together. Can't you just accept that and move on? Family has to stick together. I thought family meant everyone, not just the people who don't rock the boat. I stood up suddenly, unable to breathe in the house that had once been my safe place. I need to go. See, my mother said to my father, always making everything about herself. I froze in the doorway, her email to the extended family echoing in my mind. Is that really what you think of me? That I make everything about myself? Well, you have to admit you've always needed to be the center of attention, my mother replied. The perfect daughter? The straight-A student? The successful businesswoman? Some of us are tired of living in your shadow. The words hit like physical blows. All these years I'd thought I was making them proud. Instead, they'd been resenting me. I moved back home for you, I said quietly. I turned down a job in Chicago to help with the family business. I've spent every weekend for the past 7 years doing your accounting and payroll. And you never let us forget it, Amanda snapped. I looked at each of them, my sister's defiant face, my mother's cool disapproval, my father's averted eyes, these strangers wearing my family's faces. I think I need some time away from all of you, I said finally. Please don't contact me for a while. As I walked to my car, I heard Amanda say, "See drama, just like I said." The drive home passed in a blur of tears and disbelief. The family I thought I knew had never really existed at all. The week that followed ranked among the worst of my life. I went through motions at work, grateful that my office in the family business allowed me to avoid direct contact with my parents. I forwarded urgent questions to my father by email, keeping messages brief and professional. At night, I alternated between crying and staring numbly at television shows I couldn't follow. Cedar Springs, with its population of just under 15,000, suddenly felt suffocatingly small. I ran into my mother's friend Carol at the grocery store and watched her expression shift from friendly to awkward when she spotted me. "Your sister and Jason make such a lovely couple," she said, clearly fishing for my reaction. I left my half-filled cart in the aisle and drove to the next town to finish shopping. On Thursday afternoon, my phone rang with my grandmother's number. My father's mother had always been direct to the point of bluntness, a trait that now felt like a lifeline amid the family deception. "Monica, it's Grandma. Are you free for lunch tomorrow?" We met at a small diner on the edge of town, away from the usual local hangouts. My grandmother at 79 remained sharp-eyed and quick-witted, her silver hair cut in the same no-nonsense bob she'd worn for decades. "You look terrible," she announced as I slid into the booth across from her. "Thanks, Grandma. Always good for my ego." "Ego's not your problem. Never has been." She studied me over her reading glasses. "I was upset when you weren't at Thomas's birthday dinner. Your mother fed me some nonsense about you being too busy with work. They didn't invite me," I admitted, the words still painful to say aloud. "Amanda is dating Jason now, and they didn't want me there to make things awkward." My grandmother's expression hardened. "I suspected as much when I saw that young man there. Never liked him. Talks too much and says too little. Did you know Amanda and Jason were seeing each other while he was still with me? She reached across the table to pat my hand. No, child. I'd have told you if I knew. That's not right. For the first time in days, I felt seen. Validated. Dad's investing in Jason's business ventures. Significant amounts. My grandmother's eyes narrowed. How significant? 25,000, so far from what I can tell. And Jason's pushing for more. Your grandfather and I didn't raise a fool, she muttered. Thomas has always been cautious with money. Not anymore, apparently. What do you know about this business venture? Not much. Dad's kept the details separate from the family business accounting. My grandmother sipped her coffee thoughtfully. I don't trust that young man. Never have. The way he looks at people. Always calculating. And now he's wormed his way into Thomas's wallet through Amanda. I don't know what to do, Grandma. They've made it clear they don't want me interfering. Since when does doing the right thing require an invitation? She fixed me with a stern look. Your grandfather and I saved for 40 years to build the nest egg we passed to your father. I won't have some smooth-talking opportunist steal it from the family. That conversation with my grandmother became the turning point. That evening, I began a systematic investigation into Jason's business history, drawing on both my accounting background and connections through the local Chamber of Commerce. What I found disturbed me deeply. Jason had started 3 previous consulting businesses in neighboring counties, each following the same pattern, charming local business owners into investing in vaguely defined ventures, showing initial promising returns, usually from recruiting new investors. I suspected then declaring business failures and moving on, leaving investors with significant losses. He had never been formally charged with fraud, but civil complaints had been filed in 2 counties. Both were settled out of court with non-disclosure agreements, which explained why his name hadn't raised red flags. I contacted one former investor who had moved out of state, hoping the geographical distance might make him more willing to speak freely despite any NDA. Martin Reeves had lost $60,000 to Jason's foolproof investment strategy 3 years ago. He's a con man, plain and simple, Martin told me over the phone. Charming, knowledgeable sounding, always has the right connections. But it's all smoke and mirrors. By the time you realize your money's gone, he's moved on to the next town and the next group of trusting folks. Did you try to press charges? I asked. Sure did. But Jason's smart. He structures everything just legally enough that it's hard to prove criminal intent. The paperwork always shows the business failed, despite his best efforts, and he keeps enough legitimate-looking records to make it seem like he really tried to make it work. The pattern was clear and alarming. But would my family believe me if I presented this evidence? After our Sunday dinner confrontation, I doubted it. Amanda was too infatuated. My mother, too, invested in her new favorite daughter's happiness, and my father, too proud to admit he might have been fooled. I needed more specific evidence about what Jason was planning with my father's money. Using my still active family business email account, I set up alerts for any communications containing Jason's name or business. The alert triggered the next morning. An email from Jason to my father, with the subject line, Final Proposal Documentation. I hesitated only briefly before opening it. The business proposal outlined a real estate development opportunity requiring an initial investment of $300,000, almost the entirety of my father's retirement savings. The projected returns were astronomically unlikely, promising a 30% return within 6 months. The entire operation would be managed solely by Jason, with my father as a silent partner. Most alarmingly, the fine print granted Jason full discretionary control over all invested funds. It was essentially a legal way for Jason to walk away with my father's retirement money. Attached to the email was a separate message that had been forwarded multiple times, originally from Jason to Amanda. Baby, once your dad signs the papers next Friday, we're set. I can finally leave this backwater town and start fresh in Phoenix. You'll love it there. Just keep him focused on how much money he'll make, not on the details. And make sure Monica stays out of it completely. She's the only one smart enough to spot the problems with the paperwork. I sat back stunned by the naked calculation in those words. Jason wasn't even planning to include Amanda in his escape. He was using her exactly as he'd used me, but with a much bigger financial target in mind. Worse, my father was scheduled to sign the investment papers the following Friday, just 1 week away. I had 7 days to prevent him from making a catastrophic financial mistake that would devastate not just him, but my mother as well. A crushing realization followed. My father wouldn't believe warnings coming from me. Not now. Not after the rift that had formed. He would see it as jealousy or an attempt to sabotage Amanda's relationship. I needed a different approach, one that would make the evidence speak for itself. The next morning, I called Sam Porter, my father's business partner of 20 years and closest friend. Sam had taught me to drive when I was 16 and had championed my role in modernizing the business accounting systems when some of the older employees resisted. "Monica, good to hear from you. It's been too quiet around the office without you. I need your help, Sam. It's about Dad." We met at Sam's fishing cabin 30 minutes outside town, a place private enough for a sensitive conversation. I brought printouts of everything I'd discovered about Jason's history and his current proposal to my father. Sam reviewed the documents in silence, his weathered face growing increasingly grim. "This is bad, Monica. Really bad. 300,000 would be almost everything Thomas has put away." "I know. And he's planning to sign the papers next Friday. Have you shown this to your father?" "We aren't exactly on speaking terms right now," Sam sighed. "I heard about the birthday dinner situation. And about your sister. And Jason. Small town. Then you understand why Dad won't listen to me directly. He thinks I'm just being jealous and dramatic. What do you need from me?" "I need you to help me get more concrete evidence. And then I need you to be there when Dad sees it. He trusts your judgment." Over the next 5 days, Sam and I built a comprehensive case. He reached out to business contacts in counties where Jason had operated previously, gathering testimonials from people who had lost money in his schemes. I created a detailed financial analysis of Jason's proposal, highlighting the impossibly optimistic projections and the concerning fine print. Sam arranged a meeting with a private investigator who specialized in financial fraud. The PI provided documentation of Jason's pattern of establishing businesses, securing investments, and disappearing with the money. It wasn't enough for criminal charges, but the pattern was unmistakable. "We've got enough to convince any reasonable person," Sam said after reviewing our evidence. "But your father might not be reasonable where Amanda is concerned." "I know. That's why I need one more piece of evidence." Using my access to the business email system, I set up a trap. I created a fake email account under the name of a well-known regional investor, then sent Jason a message expressing interest in his real estate development opportunity. Would he be willing to discuss terms with another potential investor? Jason took the bait, immediately responding with details significantly different from what he'd told my father. Instead of a real estate development in Arizona, he described a chain of wellness centers in California. Instead of my father being a primary partner, he claimed to be the sole owner, seeking silent capital partners with no management involvement. Most importantly, he included a statement that he was looking to relocate permanently to Los Angeles immediately after securing funding and was not tied to current investor locations. It was the final piece we needed, proof that Jason was telling different stories to different investors and planning to disappear with the money. "Now we need to get your father to see all of this," Sam said. "And it needs to come from a source he won't immediately dismiss." "I've been thinking about that," I replied. "Dad checks his email first thing every morning before anyone else is in the office. It's been his routine for 20 years. You want to email him all this, not directly from me. I'm going to forward the whole email chain, Jason's messages to Amanda about using Dad for his money, the contradictory investment proposals, everything from an anonymous account, with copies of the reports we've compiled on his previous scams." Sam frowned. "Anonymous. He might dismiss it as a prank." "Not completely anonymous. I'll use my old college email account. He'll recognize it, but it won't immediately trigger his defenses like seeing my name would." "And you think he'll read through all of it?" "I know he will. Dad can't stand unresolved questions. It's why he reads murder mysteries from back to front. Sometimes he needs to know the answer. Once he starts seeing the evidence, he won't be able to stop until he understands the full picture. That night, I prepared the email, carefully organizing the evidence in the order that would make the most compelling case. Jason's previous fraudulent businesses, the testimonials from previous victims, the contradictory investment proposals, the email to Amanda about using my father for his money and leaving town. I scheduled it to arrive at 5:45 the next morning, 15 minutes before my father typically arrived at the office. Then I tried to sleep, knowing tomorrow would likely change my family forever, for better or worse. I arrived at the office at 7:30, my stomach in knots. My father's truck was in the parking lot, but Sam's wasn't yet. I'd asked Sam to come in at 8, giving my father time to process what he'd read. The main office was quiet, most employees not due until 8:30. My father's office door was closed, unusual for this time of morning. I knocked softly. "Come in," he called, his voice uncharacteristically subdued. He sat at his desk, papers spread across the surface, his reading glasses perched on his nose. His coffee sat untouched beside him, likely cold by now. He looked up when I entered, and the expression on his face told me everything he had read it all. "Did you send this?" he asked, holding up a printed email. "Yes. Why not just come talk to me directly? Would you have listened?" He sighed deeply, removing his glasses to rub his eyes. "Probably not. Not after Sunday. Have you read everything?" "Every word. 3 times. He gestured to the chair across from his desk. "Sit down, Monica." I took the seat, noting how much older my father looked today. The lines around his eyes seemed deeper, his shoulders more stooped. "Is it all true?" he asked. "About Jason's previous businesses, the investors who lost everything?" "Yes. Sam helped me verify everything. He'll be here at 8. If you want to talk to him directly." "That won't be necessary. I trust you." He paused, the words hanging between us. "I should have trusted you all along. I'm sorry it had to come out this way." "I'm the one who should be sorry, Monica. I let myself be blinded by—" He trailed off, searching for words. "By what?" "By wanting to believe the best of Amanda. By not wanting to admit I might have been fooled. By the idea of having a son figure in the family business." He shook his head. "I was going to sign those papers tomorrow. $300,000. Nearly everything your mother and I have saved. I couldn't let that happen. Even after how we treated you. You're still my family." He nodded slowly, then picked up his phone. "I need to call Jason. Cancel our meeting tomorrow. Tell him the investment is off." "What will you tell him?" "The truth. That I've seen evidence of his previous business failures, and I'm no longer comfortable proceeding. And Amanda." Pain flashed across his face. "That's going to be harder. She's convinced he's the best thing that ever happened to her. She needs to see these emails too. Especially the one about him planning to leave for Phoenix without her." "Phoenix?" My father looked confused. "The business was supposed to be here in Cedar Springs. A local development project. That's what he told you." "He told other potential investors it was wellness centers in California. And he told Amanda it was a fresh start in Phoenix." "God, what a fool I've been," my father murmured. "Not a fool. Just a father who wanted to believe in his daughter's happiness." He reached across the desk to squeeze my hand. "Thank you for looking out for this family, even when we didn't deserve it. You would have done the same for me." "I should have. Instead, I let you be excluded from my own birthday." Shame colored his features. "I didn't stand up for you when I should have. We can talk about that later. Right now, you need to call Jason and protect your investment." My father nodded, straightening his shoulders. "You're right. Business first, family reckoning after." As I stood to leave, he called my name. "Monica." "Yes, I'm proud of you. I don't say that enough, but I am. You're everything I could have hoped for in a daughter." For the first time in weeks, I felt a glimmer of hope that my family might find its way back together again. My phone rang at 6:15 the next morning. my father's number. Monica, are you awake? His voice sounded rough, like he hadn't slept. I am now. What's wrong? Nothing's wrong. Everything's right, actually. Can you come over for breakfast? Your mother's making blueberry pancakes. Your favorite. Dad, after everything that's happened, please, Monica. We need to talk as a family. All of us. I arrived at my parents' house 45 minutes later, uncertain what to expect. My mother answered the door, her eyes red-rimmed, but her smile genuine. Thank you for coming, she said, pulling me into an unexpected hug. In the kitchen, my father sat at the table with a shell-shocked-looking Amanda. The atmosphere was heavy with unspoken words. My father stood when I entered. Monica, I showed Amanda everything yesterday. The emails, the evidence of Jason's previous scams, his plans to take the money and leave town. All of it. Huh. Amanda wouldn't meet my eyes. I didn't believe it at first, she said quietly. I called Jason and confronted him. He denied everything, said you were making it all up. Because you were jealous. She paused, taking a shaky breath. Then I asked specific questions about details in the emails. Things only he would know if they were real. He got angry. Started yelling that I was paranoid and crazy. That's when I knew you were telling the truth. I'm so sorry, Amanda. Don't apologize to me. She finally looked up, her eyes swimming with tears. I'm the one who needs to apologize to you. I knew it was wrong to see Jason behind your back. I knew it. And I did it anyway. How long was it really going on, I asked, needing to know the truth. 3 months before you broke up, she admitted. He reached out on social media, said he was unhappy that you two weren't connecting anymore. I told myself it wasn't serious at first, just texting. Then we met for coffee, and it escalated from there. The timeline hurt, but the honesty was necessary. Why didn't you tell me after we broke up? I was afraid you'd never forgive me. And then it had been a secret for so long, it seemed easier to keep it that way. When Dad's birthday came around, I convinced Mom it would be too awkward to have you both there. My mother placed a stack of pancakes on the table, her hands trembling slightly. I owe you an apology too, Monica. What I said in that email to the family about you being judgmental and making everything about yourself that was wrong, I was trying to justify excluding you. And I said terrible things I didn't really mean. Did you mean what you said at Sunday dinner? About being tired of living in my shadow? She sank into a chair, suddenly looking every one of her 55 years. I've always been proud of you, Monica. But sometimes, yes, I've felt inadequate beside you. You're so capable. So confident. Amanda has always needed more support. More attention. I think I overcorrected, favoring her to compensate for how naturally things seem to come to you. Nothing came naturally, I said. I worked hard for everything I've achieved. I know that now, she acknowledged. Your father helped me see how unfair I've been comparing you two, instead of appreciating you both for your different strengths. My father cleared his throat. I called Jason this morning. Told him I'd seen evidence of his previous business failures and wouldn't be investing. He tried to argue at first, then got angry when I mentioned the contradicting proposals he'd sent to other investors. What did he say? Amanda asked. He accused me of interfering in a legitimate business opportunity. Said I'd regret missing out on the returns. When that didn't work, he switched to threatening legal action for defamation. I told him he was welcome to take it to court, where all his previous business dealings would become public record. Did that stop him? It did. He hung up after saying Cedar Springs was a dead-end town full of small-minded people anyway. Amanda wiped away tears. I really thought he loved me. I reached across the table to squeeze her hand. He's a con man, Amanda. Manipulation is what he does. He nearly got Dad's retirement money, but he didn't, my father interjected firmly, thanks to Monica. We ate breakfast together. The conversation still awkward, but gradually warming. It wasn't a magical fix, too much. Had been revealed, too many painful words exchanged. But it was a beginning. Over the following weeks, we began the slow, difficult work of rebuilding trust. My mother suggested family counseling, surprising me with her willingness to examine the family dynamics that had led to our breakdown. In our second session, my father broke down while apologizing for failing to stand up for me. "I've always relied on you to be the strong one," he admitted, "even when it should have been my job to protect you." Amanda and I met for coffee weekly, gradually rebuilding our sisterhood on more honest ground. "I was always jealous of your confidence," she confessed one afternoon. "It seemed like you never doubted yourself." "Are you kidding? I doubt myself constantly. I just don't show it. That's part of what I admire about you." 6 months later, we celebrated what my father jokingly called his half-birthday with a proper family dinner at Harbor Grill. The same restaurant where I'd been excluded now became the setting for our renewed family bonds. During dessert, my father tapped his glass for attention. "I want to thank Monica publicly for something I should have acknowledged months ago. Not only did she save my retirement savings from a con man, but she also saved this family. When it would have been easier to let us suffer the consequences of our actions, she chose to protect us instead. That's real family loyalty." My mother reached for my hand across the table. "We're so lucky to have you, sweetheart. I hope you can forgive us for how blind we've been." "I already have," I said, meaning it. "Family is complicated. We make mistakes. We hurt each other. But we also get second chances." Later that night, sitting on the porch swing with my father like we used to when I was young, he asked, "What made you decide to help us, even after everything?" "Honestly, Grandma." She reminded me that doing the right thing doesn't require an invitation. He laughed. "That sounds like Mom. Always cutting through the nonsense." She also said she and Grandpa didn't save for 40 years to have some smooth-talking con artist steal it from the family. She's right about that, too. I leaned my head against his shoulder, feeling truly at peace for the first time in months. "I learned something important from all this, Dad." "What's that?" "Sometimes loving your family means having the courage to tell difficult truths even when they don't want to hear them. Even when it might change how they see you." That's a hard lesson, but a necessary one. I spent years trying to be the perfect daughter, afraid that if I caused any waves, I'd lose your approval. But real family love isn't so fragile. It can withstand honesty. "I'm sorry we made you doubt that." "I don't doubt it anymore." As we sat watching fireflies appear in the gathering dusk, I realized the painful journey we'd traveled had led us to a better place than where we'd started. Not perfect. Nothing real ever is, but authentic. In a way our previous relationship had never been. The family facade had cracked, revealing our flaws and insecurities. But through that breaking, we'd found a way to rebuild something stronger, relationships based on truth, rather than comfortable illusions. The painful email I'd forwarded had set in motion a chain of events that ultimately saved not just my father's financial future, but our family's emotional one as well. Sometimes the hardest truths are the ones that set us free. And sometimes family love is strong enough to survive even the most difficult revelations. Have you ever had to tell a difficult truth to someone you love, knowing it might hurt them, but was necessary? Or have you experienced family dynamics where certain members are favored over others? I'd love to hear your stories in the blogs. Comments below. Remember to like this video if it resonated with you. Subscribe for more true stories. And share with anyone who might be struggling with complicated family relationships. Thank you for listening to my journey. And I hope it helps you navigate your own family challenges with courage and honesty.